How's it going, guys? Dragon Star Production here, back with another What A Video, and I've already done DC with Batman, so I thought why not Marvel? And you guys read the title, we're going to do What If Spider-Man was in Dragon Ball Z. So obviously I could do this many different ways, and in fact I thought of doing it a bunch of different ways, but personally I think I found the best way to do it for me, so we'd have to start our story off with the time skip between the Cell Saga and the Great Saiyaman Saga at Orange Star High School. It's the first day of school and the teacher starts the roll call, obviously starting with Angela, Erasa, Gohan, and then eventually getting to Peter, who quietly says his name but isn't heard by the teacher, and then he has to repeat it saying that he's here just slightly louder than before. The teacher then continues to go over the roll call with Sharpener and lastly with Dell. However, the teacher, when he begins teaching, Peter doesn't raise his hand, nor does he try to answer any of the questions. Gohan actually takes note of this and actually comments on Peter's shyness to him. Gohan then actually becomes friends with Peter, which then leads to everyone else actually befriending him as well. Peter Parker is still quite shy, but he does have a bit of a friend group now, so he's actually opening up, which leads us to the accident that happens in science class. The teacher is giving an example of a radioactive experiment, and somehow a tiny spider actually gets caught in it. The spider manages to survive to all odds, but not only survive, but bite Peter Parker. At first, nothing changes, science class ends, but as they then move to the next period, Peter starts to get the sweats. The sweats then leads to the shakes, and the shakes then leads to the vomiting. And obviously, if you ever got sick at school, well, you're getting sent home if you throw up. Peter's Uncle Ben then comes to pick him up, as they believe Peter is either just nervous about the first day of school, or has a small common cold. So by the time Peter made it home, well, he was in full-blown panic, throwing up, sick, super pale. They had no idea what was going on and just figured that it was something major. So, of course, Aunt May thought that it would be the smartest thing to actually take Peter to the hospital. After leaving the doctor's office and being told that it was only a poisonous spider bite and giving some antibiotics, Aunt May would then play doctor for Peter all night. But come rise of the sun in the morning, Peter was fine. In fact, Peter has never felt better. Peter decided to go back to school, where he then notices a guy flying in the sky. Peter can't help but watch, but not just watching. Peter was completely off guard by this. However, he wasn't the only one, as a car comes crashing into him, but to his surprise, he's able to stop the car. Peter is shocked, as well as the driver, but most importantly, that guy in the sky. Peter brushes it off, and he then tells the driver, "Nice brakes," as running off to school. So during this time, Peter Parker actually stays at school where the Great Saiyaman goes through his shenanigans saving Videl, so all the stuff with Gohan and Videl actually happened as canon. But it's after school where Peter would actually begin to test his own strength. During this time, Peter actually realizes it's not just his strength that has somehow improved, it's also his reflexes, as if all his senses have improved immensely. Peter then starts to put everything together, and it's all happened after that spider bite. Peter has no idea why or how any of this is working, but he believes it has something to do with his new powers. Peter then wants to see if there's any more abilities that he can possibly do, so he thinks of the things that a spider can do, where he finds that he can actually crawl up walls, but more importantly, shoot webs. Peter Parker is now a teenager with spider powers, so as he does in his canon story, chooses to create a costume based on his abilities. Thus, the spider suit is made. But this suit wasn't made to basically fight crime. No, this suit was made for Peter Parker's benefit, to make money very easy, like any teenager, or mostly any teenager, would. And no, he's not doing any villainous acts or anything like that. He's not hurting anyone, so you don't need to think anything like that. But Peter does hear about a world's martial arts tournament from Videl, which inspires him to enter to attempt to win the prize money. However, Peter doesn't tell his classmates, so when Erasa asks if she's going to come to watch Videl's fight, Peter makes up an excuse of why he can't come. But let's get to some more important parts of the story. Currently, Gohan has started training Videl, while Peter Parker has actually been solving reward crimes, slightly improving his abilities day by day. And that brings us to the tournament itself, with the amazing Spider-Man joining the tournament. The brackets would change, but for an easy purpose, we'll just say that Spider-Man replaces Pintar, meaning that he'll actually have the first match against Krillin. And in this match, Krillin and Spider-Man both are being kind of cocky. But as Spider-Man lands a blow on Krillin, Krillin realizes his opponent is a lot stronger than what he thought. Krillin starts taking the fight a bit more seriously as Krillin rushes Spider-Man, getting the best of him. nearly edging him out of the ring then, when Spider-Man pulls himself back in with a web. Krillin then starts to celebrating too early, thinking that he's won the match, giving Spider-Man the opportunity to spray Krillin with a web, a long enough web to actually roll Krillin out of the ring, getting a ring out. And one thing to note here, that Gohan on the sideline recognizes the key is very similar. However, he's not going to say anything after the matches are over, so then when they take place, everything happens as normal. Piccolo, Supreme Kai, the Spokovich beating Videl, and Gohan saving her. But it is when Majin Vegeta is born when the story of Hero Spider-Man truly begins. Vegeta is having his face down with Goku as he then charges up a blast as he's about to shoot at the stands. Peter though notices on the sidelines and sees the faces of the stands, as he then notices his Uncle Ben is in the audience. Spider-Man then feels no choice but to step in, shooting from the sidelines a web that actually catches Vegeta's hands and ties them up. Knowing only one person can shoot webs, Vegeta is pissed, bursting through the webs as if they were nothing, changing his blast direction to Spider-Man. Luckily for Spider-Man though, Goku rushes in, saving him by kicking Vegeta, telling him to run. The audience then clears out while Gohan comes up to Spider-Man, helping him up off the ground after he tries to dive, telling him to come with him. Gohan catches Spider-Man completely off guard by calling him Peter, as Peter then cuts off, asking how he knows. Gohan explains ki sensing, but more importantly, Gohan explains the threat of the Earth and what he needs to do. Spider-Man says he's not a hero, but Gohan tells him that he's not either. But what's right is right, and they have to do it for their planet. Peter can't help but agree to help, so with that said, we find ourselves on the battlefield. Peter Parker is in quite the uncomfortable situation here, but realizes with great power comes great responsibilities. So he decides to help Shin and Gohan actually try to defeat Babidi, and now thanks to Majin Vegeta vs Goku, also the released egg of Majin Buu. At first, it's just Shin and Gohan fighting, but Spider-Man actually is able to catch Babidi completely off guard, as Spider-Man shoots a web wrapping Babidi in a cocoon from head to toe. This then gives the perfect timing to get a sneaky shot on Majin Buu. Spidey then launches himself with a web, nailing Buu directly in the back of the head, just for Majin Buu to grab Spider-Man. However, Spider-Man shows his amazing reflexes by sliding out of the punch and even making Buu hit himself, in the fact that Spider-Man starts to actually use his speed to his advantage, making Buu repeatedly hit himself over and over, as Parker then mocks, "Why you hitting yourself? Why you hitting yourself? Why you hitting yourself?" And this actually gives Gohan a minute to actually breathe and shoot a Kamehameha, which Spider-Man notices leaping down to the ground as he then actually watches Buu get nailed with a Kamehameha. Spider-Man thinks it over, and in fact it might be, but Shin looks up and says it's most definitely not. And that's where we're going to be leaving off part 1 of What If Spider-Man Was in Dragon Ball Z. If you guys want to see what happens in part 2, be sure to like this video, comment down below what you want to see in part 2, but most importantly, subscribe so you know when it comes out. You can also hit that bell icon, that way it alerts you whenever I upload, which I know hasn't been lately, but I promise videos are coming back soon. I've officially got a new setup, and it's a pretty good setup, I think I might add. I mean, tell me about the quality of this video, tell me if you like that, and if you guys are interested, I do have a Patreon where you guys can immensely support the channel. Tiers starting as low as $1, and I also have a Discord where you guys can also join in there. We're about to have a complete revamp in there, and we're also going to be doing a Dragon Ball RP, which we have previously done one, and it was very, very fun, and you guys should definitely join. You can create your own characters to your own degree, whatever character you want. It just has to be approved by me, and that'll be done personally by me. So with that said, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope I see you in either the Patreon, or I see you in the Discord, or both. With that said, I'll be seeing you guys in the next What If video.